Commander, the Age of Annihilus marches on and Act 3 has arrived. Thunderstrike is here, and that means your build priorities need to be sharper than ever. With 348 characters in Marvel Strike Force, there are a plethora of traps that can catch you off guard if you're trying to catch up with the meta. Right now, we've got the Blue Marvel chase happening, and Sentry City, our second iteration of Battleworld, is well underway. There's a lot to build for, especially if you are a new or returning player. And here's the problem. Resource management is tighter than ever. Our build positively data confirms it. We've dropped from being able to fully build 7 to 8 characters per month down to about 5. So how do we avoid those traps? How do we make sure we're building smart, staying on pace, and truly know what's safe to build? This month's Safe to Build guide is broken down into 2 parts, and that's because the game has gotten too broad for a single video to do it justice. Part 1, which you're watching now, will cover our PvE game modes, raids, Battleworld, and of course, the most important mode for every free-to-play commander, Arena. Then in Part 2, we'll tackle the PvP side of things and highlight some of those plug-and-play characters that can truly amp up your roster no matter what mode you're focusing on. Everything you'll see here is directly based on the Safe to Build infographic, which you can find on the Jetson Squad Discord, link down in the description below. This infographic points you right towards where your focus should be if you're in the late mid-game to early end-game, specifically if you're chasing that Blue Marvel unlock. Now, if you're a newer player, this infographic should be treated more like a compass, not a rulebook, because by the time you reach your own Blue Marvel chase, there'll probably be a new chase character and the ecosystem around Blue Marvel will have shifted. So use it as your guidepost, but keep your flexibility. Now, before we move on, I want to take a moment to shout out a good buddy and fellow content creator, Dinman2323. A lot of the information you'll see in this month's Safe to Build infographic simply wouldn't be possible without him. His Professor X section testing videos, where he takes new characters and teams through the trials, are absolutely invaluable. They've helped shape many of my recommendations, especially in the Professor X sections of this guide. Now, even though I have my own X, I don't have the G20 resources to do the level of testing that Dinman does. And thanks to his work, I'm able to keep this infographic as accurate and up to date as it is. So if you haven't checked out his channel yet, after this video, head over there, give him a sub, drop a like, and show the dude some love. Because honestly, he does some amazing work and he's an amazing human being on top of that. So now that we've set the stage, let's talk about what I call the foundation, or the 3 pillars of 2025, the Age of Annihilus. These are the crossover teams from each act that will form the bedrock of your roster. The teams that will help you unlock Quasar, Blastar and Thunderstrike, and eventually set you up for the big chase of the year, Annihilus himself. And the first pillar, we're going to call this the Harbinger pillar, is led by the Vigilantes. Now, this is primarily your skill raid team for the Annihilation raid, but don't make the mistake of thinking they're just a raid team. These guys shine everywhere. War, Cosmic Crucible, and for newer commanders, they can even hold their own in Arena early on. They're from just before Chapter 1, so yes, they're slightly older by Marvel Strike Force standards, but they've aged beautifully. They're still one of the best teams to take into the Quasar trials, which, remember, is one of the key steps on your path to Annihilus. And if that wasn't enough of a reason, they're also basically required for the Professor X saga, particularly the city section. So my advice here is simple. Build them as big as you can. They'll pay you back across almost every major piece of content. Our second pillar is the Conqueror pillar, and the team standing tall here is the Fantastic Four MCU. These guys have double duty. They were the last Harbinger team, and they're the crossover team for the Conqueror chapter. That means they're needed for both Blastar and Quasar, making them one of the most valuable teams in the entire Age of Annihilus timeline. They're also the meta arena team right now, and with a few of the big mythic plug-and-play characters, they become the ultimate arena comp you'll see sitting at the top of your arena shard. But don't pigeonhole them there. They're strong across War, Cosmic Crucible, and they're a staple team for the Blue Marvel chase. Bottom line, if you're investing anywhere this month, build them to the moon. And finally, we have the Stormbound pillar. This is our newest and most exciting one, led by the Brimstone team. Like the Fantastic Four, they're a crossover team, carrying both the Conqueror and Stormbound tags. That second one still waiting to be added in game, but it is coming. Because of that dual tag, they're almost certain to play a huge role in Blastar's trials when they return, and they'll be the main team used in Act 3 of the Age of Annihilus, especially when it comes to earning Thunderstrike's red stars. On paper, they're an Alliance war team, but don't sleep on their versatility. They're one of the best options for fighting Sentry, the Battleworld boss in Sentry City, thanks to specific modifiers they get in that matchup. Plus, several members of this team flex well into other game modes, especially the MVP, Damon Hellstrom, who is incredible almost everywhere. One last note, outside of Doctor Strange Heartless, they're also the best characters for the global section of the Target Blue Marvel chase. Simply put, Brimstone is the future. So Commander, those are the 3 pillars that will define your progress through late 2025 and into early 2026. Keep these teams strong, build them to the max, and I promise you won't be disappointed. All right, now we've got the pillars defined, let's move on to our first section, raids. And let's start things off with the Thunderbolts, our bio raid team for the Annihilus raids. Now, inside their own game mode, they are fantastic. They do exactly what they're designed to do. But honestly, outside of raids, it can feel a little lackluster. That said, there are a couple of exceptional standouts. Taskmaster is a solid Alliance war character. He's fast, disruptive, and with his AoE blind, it makes him an incredible control option. And since he carries the Mercenary tag, he slots right into the Mercs for Money team, giving that team a real boost. Then we've got Songbird, the clear MVP of the Thunderbolts. She's got a solid speed stat of 132, and her ultimate Vicious Area is brutal. Attacking all enemies for 350% damage, flipping all positive effects into negative effects, and applying offense down for 2 turns. That ability makes her useful way beyond raids. I personally use her a ton in War and Cosmic Crucible to counter Professor X teams. So while the Thunderbolts as a group are really built for raids, Songbird and Taskmaster give them some real roster depth outside that mode and make the team worth having ready when bio lanes come calling. And next up, we've got the Hellfire Club, your mutant raid team for the Annihilation raid. And honestly, this team is pretty solid, and for a few key reasons. First off, Emma Frost got a rework for this team, and that is a big deal. Emma's always been a kit-based character, one of the smartest designs in the game, and now with her updated stats, she's going to last a lot longer in fights. Sebastian Shaw fills that perfect pre-taunting tank role, protecting the team and setting up those plays right out the gate. And then we got the 2 heavy hitters of the squad, Azazel and Rachel Summers. Azazel is great on his own, but the real value comes from his dual tags, Accursed and Hellfire Club. That means that he can jump into Cosmic Crucible and uplift the Accursed team, giving you even more flexibility across that mode. And then there's Rachel Summers, who honestly is the standout member of the team. Not just for what she does with Hellfire Club, but for what she brings when she joins the Immortal X-Men in Crucible. Her ultimate, Mental Devastation, is exactly that. Devastating. It's going to attack the primary target for 500% piercing and flip all positive effects into negative effects. Then it's going to attack the adjacent targets for another 500% piercing and clear all positive effects. And then it will spread stun. And it applies immunity to all Immortal X-Men allies. And on kill, it's going to fill the speed bar of a random Jean Grey ally. And it ignores defense up and it can't be dodged or blocked. That ability gives massive control to the Immortal X-Men and makes Rachel one of the most valuable mutants in the game right now. So if you're looking to prioritize your resources within this team, Azazel and Rachel are your go-to investments. They'll give you value far beyond just the raid lanes. Next up, we've got the Insidious 6, our tech raid team for the Annihilus raids. Now, this team is a little unique. There are only 3 official members, and they're joined by Vulture and Shocker, who don't carry the Insidious 6 tag, but fit perfectly alongside them. And this full squad of 5, they're amazing. Seriously, they crush in pretty much every game mode. On defense, sure, they can feel a little lackluster. And there are some simple counters out there. But on offense, they are amazing. They've also revitalized the Superior 6 team, breathing new life into older Spider-Verse villains. Plus, they're a key requirement for the Blue Marvel chase, specifically as the solution to the city section. So my advice, Commander, build them to the moon. You'll use them everywhere. Our next raid team is arriving over the course of this month, and they're coming to cleanse the lanes with their legendary chi. That's right, it can only be the Immortal weapons. This is our brand new Mystic raid team for the Annihilus raids, and they're already shaping up to be something special. They follow a very similar structure to the Hellfire Club, with some interesting dual tags in play. Lady Bullseye, for example, is going to carry both the Immortal weapon and Thunderbolts tag. Yes, Thunderbolts. Now, she probably won't have much direct synergy with that team, but it's a fun nod. Remember, she was one of the characters we got to vote on for the original Thunderbolts lineup, and she just missed out back then. But let's talk about someone who will make waves, Swordmaster. Along with his Immortal weapon tag, he also has the Mighty Avenger tag. And that's where things get really interesting. His special, Whirling Assault, reads, if this character has 3 or more Immortal weapon or Mighty Avenger allies, reduce the duration of immunity and safeguard by 2 on all enemies. Now that ability doesn't really change much for the Immortal weapons team itself, but on the Mighty Avengers, it's a game changer. By removing safeguard, it allows Hercules' passive, the one where Mighty Avengers copy and clear all buffs from their primary target, to actually work properly. So while Swordmaster's raid role will be solid, his presence could supercharge the Mighty Avengers outside of the raids and give that team a real second win. Next up, we've got the Nightstalkers. This is our current Mystic raid team covering the Mystic nodes for the Annihilation raids. This team is great, and it features one of the most requested characters to ever come to Marvel Strike Force, Blade. The Nightstalkers can absolutely shine out of their main game mode. They perform well in war, and they hold their own in Cosmic Crucible too. However, with the Immortal weapons releasing this month and stepping in to replace them in their primary raid role, as I said last month, any investment in the Nightstalkers right now should be made with caution. They're still a strong and stylish team, but with their days in the Mystic lanes numbered, you'll want to think carefully before committing major resources. Alright, time for another hot take. This next team, the Uncanny Avengers, they're officially on my build with caution list. Now, I can already hear some of you saying, but BPG, didn't you just say that the Immortal X-Men and the Mighty Avengers got huge boosts with Rachel Summers and Swordmaster? And you're absolutely right. I did, and I stand by that. But here's the thing. The original plan was to build the Uncanny Avengers first to cover your daily raid use, then expand out into the Mighty Avengers and Immortal X-Men teams from there. However, looking at the patterns in the game right now, it really feels like the Uncanny Avengers time might soon be coming to an end. So if you're still investing into them, do it with caution. They're still good, but I've got a feeling a replacement team is right around the corner. Now let's talk about why the Uncanny Avengers and a few others are truly on that build with caution list. Now, as most of you know, to run the highest difficulty of the Annihilation raid, that's difficulty 9, you have to use the specific named team for each node. But here's the thing, you don't have to live at difficulty 9. If you drop down to difficulty 7, the tag widens. For example, right here, you can see that instead of needing Nightstalkers at difficulty 9, you can simply use any mystic characters at difficulty 7. So what do you actually lose by doing that? Well, you're going to give up 40 of the current chapter currency and about 170 Armory 20 orb fragments every day. Now, yes, over a long period of time, that can add up. But if it's just for a short stretch, say a few weeks or even a month, it's not going to set you back in any major way. So if you're still working on your foundational teams or waiting to see what replaces the Uncanny Avengers, it's perfectly fine to sit at difficulty 7 for a while and save those keys resources. Build smarter, not faster. And that brings us to our last raid team, Alpha Flight. Now, for the past few months, Alpha Flight has lived on the build with caution list. But this month, I'm going to say it clearly. Do not build them, period. And here's why. This team is only needed for a maximum of 4 nodes in the Spotlight 2 raid. And yes, those nodes are near the start of the run. But honestly, Commander, if I were a new player and I didn't already have my Alpha Flight built, I wouldn't touch them. I'd stick to the Greek raids instead. The reason is simple. Once the Uncanny Avengers rotate out, I can easily see the Spotlight raids disappearing completely. So save your resources, don't sink valuable materials into a team that's standing on a disappearing platform. Alpha Flight had their moment, but in the current state of the game, that moment is over. All right, with our raid teams covered and your raid lane secured, let's move on to our next big PvE focus, Battleworld. Now, this mode has quickly become one of the best ways to test your roster and see if you're really building the right characters. The current version, Sentry City, has already had 2 full runs, and right now it's your only way to unlock the new Battleworld character, Sentry. So let's break down what's performing the best in Sentry City, which characters are worth your investment, and how you can make sure your roster is ready for future Battleworld rotations. And first up in Battleworld, we have got to mention Brimstone. Now, they're not here because they're a dedicated Battleworld team per se, but because on the Sentry boss node, they get unique bonuses baked into the encounter that give them huge bonuses when it comes to dealing damage to Sentry himself. We already talked about Brimstone earlier when we covered the 3 pillars, but this just adds even more reason to build them as big as you can. So if you're wondering which team is going to give you the most value across multiple modes, War, Battleworld, and the Act 3 content, Brimstone easily checks all those boxes. Now let's move on to the one true Battleworld team, Astral. They were the first, and at least for now, it looks like they might still be the only true Battleworld specific team in the game. What I mean by that is they have actual callouts in their kits tied directly to the Battleworld game mode. One of the things I really like about this team is how they use the Awaken ability mechanic to flex this team into Alliance War. It gives them value outside of just that one game mode, and that's something I always look for in a team before I invest. Stat-wise, this is an early post-Ares team led by the legendary Shadow King, who is absolutely the linchpin of the squad. But, and here's where it gets tricky, unlocking Shadow King is not cheap. You'll need to build 2 pre-Ares stat teams, Mercs for Money and Illuminati, plus an older arena team in the Annihilators. So while I wouldn't necessarily say build with caution here, I would say if you're going to build Astral, it needs to be a conscious choice. Because this isn't just building one team, it's effectively building 4. And with the current resource economy, that's roughly 4 months of meta progress you'd be sacrificing to get there. Astral are a strong, fun, and unique team, but make sure they fit into your long-term plan before you commit. All right, Commander, that wraps up part 1 of this month's Safe to Build guide. We've covered your raid teams, broken down the best options for Battleworld, and revisited the 3 pillars that form the foundation of your roster in the Age of Annihilus. Remember, with resources tighter than ever, this is the time to build smart, not wide. Focus on those teams that bring value across multiple game modes, and keep your eye on those foundational pillars, because they're going to carry you all the way to Annihilus himself. In part 2, we'll move over to the PvP side of Marvel Strike Force, covering those War, Crucible, and some plug-and-play characters that can supercharge your roster no matter where you are in the game. So make sure you're subscribed, hit that like button if you found this helpful, and don't forget, you can grab the full Safe to Build infographic on the Jetson Squad Discord. Link is in the description down below. As always, thank you for watching. And if you want some guides on how to build some of these teams, then why not check out these videos right here.